engaging and urging and pushing in that direction to ensure that that does not happen.
A ceasefire would give Palestinians some reprieve after months of bombardment and deprivation. But if an Israeli ground offensive does come, there may be no way for them to get out of harm's way. Vincent Monaghan, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Well, to unpack the significance of an attack on Rafah, we've got a panel of guests with a range of political, humanitarian and military expertise for you. Here in Qatar's capital, Doha, we have Akbar Shahid Ahmed. He's a senior diplomatic correspondent at HuffPost. He's covered US policy on Gaza since the Obama administration. In Cairo, Najla Shawa is the country relations manager with the aid agency Oxfam. She's also a resident of Gaza. And in Bath, in the UK, Patrick Bury is a senior lecturer in security at the University of Bath, specialising in warfare and counter-terrorism. He's also served in the British Army in Afghanistan. A very warm welcome to all of you. Akbar, let's start with you. Why is it, do you think, the Netanyahu government is determined, despite the outcry from all corners of the world, to press ahead with a ground offensive in Rafah?
It's striking, Laura. It's a reality that reflects the failure of Israel's US-backed offensive in Gaza so far, right? We're approaching 6 months of this war, and Israel has not been able to meet the kind of death blow to Hamas that they promised they would and that a lot of the Israeli public wants them to. So that's why you see Prime Minister Netanyahu saying, regardless of whether there's a ceasefire, regardless of whether there's a truce, he will eventually go into Rafah. And that's because he's arguing that's where there's Hamas leadership, that's where there are remaining hostages, and that's why there's a huge strategic value to Israel, right? Israel is saying they want to control Gaza in a way that they never have before. They especially want to control Gaza's southern border with Egypt. All of that puts Israel at odds with the US, as your report mentioned, because the US is saying, look, you can pursue Hamas, you cannot go into a place that you call the safe zone. That will just worsen this perception of ethnic cleansing, of genocide, as an ICJ case continues. But for the Netanyahu administration, I think there's a clear impetus to defy the US on this.
And Najla, as Akbar said, this is been declared a so-called safe zone. Therefore, most of the Gazan population has crowded into this city that was only designed to sustain 300,000 people. We've now got 1.5 million people living there, mostly in tents. Can you describe for us the humanitarian situation there in Rafah?
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that we are now talking about just another level of extreme devastation. We have been already witnessing that. We have been already warning of this devastation and the human suffering, the casualties, but also the human suffering that this crisis has been unfolding. Unfortunately, speaking now about these stages where things are extremely critical at all levels, humanitarian workers have not been able to operate by maybe third of their capacity, according to UN reports, in terms of the staff and the teams and the operations until this moment. So you would imagine after such operation how this would be impacted. A lot of INGOs and non-governmental organizations and aid workers have been re-establishing semi-kind of structures and stations to operate from Rafah. Now, all of this will be compromised. Again, the flow of people towards any place. I mean, first of all, you started by saying this is a safe zone, while we understand now by Israel terms what a safe zone means. It has always been violated and far from being safe. Civilians have been hit, hospitals have been hit, aid agencies have been directly hit. We know about two, at least, INGOs offices that were directly hit. Aid convoys have been hit. So you are already talking about at a very already at a fragile and violated situation. So trying to imagine now, 75% of the population of the Gaza Strip is in Rafah. what could be any? Do you really need all these panelists to tell you what to imagine if Israel has an incursion? What's the implication? I think it's very clear that we are going to see more suffering of more people, especially vulnerable people, while everybody in Gaza Strip, according to all kinds of studies and all the work that we've been doing, tells you that they are in need. Every person.
Let's bring in Patrick at this stage, because he's got direct experience of urban warfare. And Patrick, we're not even talking about urban warfare in the usual sense here, are we? We're talking about a tented city. Can you give us an idea of militarily what a ground invasion into Rafah would look like?